This video is supported by Profit Accumulator. Profit Accumulator helps you to earn extra money by doing something called match betting. Match betting isn't gambling. And when you do it properly, and I mean properly, you can't lose. So get involved right now. Click the link in the description and sign up to Profit Accumulator right now. Hi, and welcome along to the All Guns Blazing podcast with my man DT in the building. The podcast brought to you today by Profit Accumulator. Make sure you jump onto those links. You get a chance to win yourself every month a couple of £100 extra or thousands if you're really, really good at it. They show you everything you need to do, and it's a really good way of earning yourself some extra income. So the link is in the description. Get involved right now. Mr. DT, welcome along. How's it going?
I'm all right. Feels like deja vu. Well, yeah, lockdown, man.
Lockdown number 2 for everybody over here. In case you're watching or listening this anywhere else in the world right now, the UK is currently in a lockdown. England, is specifically where we are, has just started a 1-month lockdown where we're back to where we were earlier this year. Well, it's a little bit different in that schools are allowed to go in. You can go to work unless you can't do it from home. That's why we're doing this from home. And of course, there's still football on, that's good for us. I mean, the last one, there was nothing. It was just like literally everything come to a standstill. So it's lockdown part 2, DT. And how you feeling?
Well, first and foremost, I'm glad that they've left the schools open so my kids can go.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Listen, I love my kids. I'll do anything for my kids. But I also don't mind those 6 hours peace during the day, man.
Trust me, man.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, in that respect, it's all just strange, isn't it, man? We were talking about it before the Europa League game, and we were saying that it doesn't feel like lockdown on the streets. It feels like a normal day, especially in London. It's just, I don't know, man. There's a million questions, man, but it's, that's not what the podcast is for. It's not a political show or anything like that. It's just, I don't get why schools are open and children are allowed to be in, and yet you can't have controlled training or, sports and stuff like that for youngsters outside of school.
Yeah, I definitely, the one that I really look at, I saw Robbie Savage doing like a big campaign on it this week, and I 100% behind what he was saying. And that is like grassroots football or sports for young kids. All right, I hear it on the older ones because, it is a lockdown and it's more likely to even spread amongst older people, obviously. But with younger kids, so I've got a son, of course, he's 11, plays lots and lots of football. That's now stopped for a month. And all the other kids of them sort of age groups and that. They can play football at school, right? But they can't play football for their teams. They can't train now. Surely it's good to get, in this period to have kids out and about, training, even if it meant that when the parents drop them off, they're not allowed to watch. They're not allowed to go in and stuff like, which is that there's been places where he's played where parents are not allowed to go in because of these COVID measures. So, we've got used to that already. So, but for the well-being of the kids, at least they can still play, they can still train. It's good for their, physical and mental health. I just don't get that one. I think that is wrong. You know what I mean? We got to, I understand the whole lockdown thing. We know that the cases have been rising again. Sadly, I know somebody's in hospital right now with COVID. This COVID thing is real, by the way. I know there's lots of conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I can tell you for a fact, right? I know somebody is in there right now, very bad, right? So we understand, you've got to try and protect the NHS because, there's only so much they can cope with. But I still feel that there's a bit more thought could have gone into this lockdown. But we're here again, man. Well, and like you said, going around London, it doesn't feel like a lockdown because there's so many people out and about on the street. The last lockdown, like it was deserted. Everybody was, but this one seems a lot different. I don't know.
Massively. You know what it is, Robbie? Because a lot of people are trying to keep their livelihood going.
Yeah.
You know,
and I get that.
Yeah. So, but a lot of shops now, what I've noticed with a lot of shops is that what they've started doing is that if there's a rule in place as to a shop being able to open because they're classed as, you know, a necessity. If there's a certain item they have to sell to be allowed to stay open, shops that don't normally sell those items are now selling those items. So they can say, well, yeah, we're allowed to stay open. It stays within the rules that if you're selling this, that you're classed as being allowed. So that's the way they're trying to get around it all. And listen, at the end of the day, I don't begrudge anyone that's trying to save their business and
yeah, 100%.
Their livelihood going and anything else. Who are we to sit there and say anything against that? Because it's tough. It's tough, man. And I know what it's like as a father and a family man myself, and trying to put food on the table for the family and everything. And it's, you do anything in life, you know what I mean, to make sure that your children and your family have got everything. And, you know, I'd give my kids my clothes off my back if I had to. But yeah, so lockdown 2.0, man.
You're starting to sound like Marcus Rashford there. I was going to get some tears shaking at me or something like that. Right, anyway, let's get into the football. And you know, talking to Marcus Rashford, that segues nicely into what I was going to talk about first, which was finally after so long getting that win at Manchester United, getting that whole thing about not being able to go to one of the big six and getting a win away from home. We got that done, and I thought that was a very, very impressive performance by Arsenal last weekend at Manchester United.
Exceptional performance from the very beginning. I remember when we was doing the watch along, the first thing we were saying in the opening 10 minutes was great start, and it's been very rare and few and far between that we've been able to say that in recent weeks. We've won games, we've done what we need to do in certain games, but we've always kind of started games slowly and we've had to kind of bed into them. Even when you look at the FA Cup final, for example, we started slowly. We went a goal down. So it's an issue that we've had to address. But in the Manchester United game, we did that from minute 1 to minute 95, whatever the injury time was. It was an exceptional performance. And people will say you had one shot on target up to the point of the penalty and stuff like that. The reality is that we should have been at least 3-0 up by half time. They're simple facts. Aubameyang is a toe away from having a tap in from the Bellerin cross. Willian hit the bar. Saka had a free header that he should have at least tested De Gea, let alone that went over. There was the moment where Lindelof got a toe onto the ball where Lacazette would have had a tap in. So you're talking 4 chances there in the first half that could have gone, you know, the other way, and it would have been 3-0.
Put it this way.
I'm saying in the second half, it was perfect game management. When we got the goal, we basically said, right, not like Arsenal of old, where we go, all right, we got 1, let's get 2, let's get 3, and we leave ourselves open and lose the game. We turned around and said, right, got the 1, that's 3 points in the bag. Come on then, come break us down. Come and show us what you got, because you've now got to come out. And if you come out, we're going to spring you on the counter. And that game, you know, last 10 minutes, I was talking to your brother and I said to him, I said, this is either going to end up 2-0 or 1-1, because they've got to push so hard to try and get an equalizer, which will leave the space. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I was surprised it actually finished and ended up 1-0, but exceptional performance all round, man. Exceptional. And I'm not listening to none of this rubbish about Manchester United were below par or this, that, the other. Listen, going into that game, we were apparently coming up against the Harlem Globetrotters. We were coming up against the greatest thing ever. Ollie was back at the wheel. They'd just done Leipzig 5-0. You're in a farmers competition on a Thursday. Watch what's going to happen. Sir Marcus Rashford's going to do this to you, that to you. Bruno Fernandes is going to boss your midfield. I had Man United fans telling me that Fred is better than Partey. Behave yourself, man. Partey run out of pockets to put Man United players in. It's like, get out of here, man. Exceptional performance.
Yeah, and that was pivotal to the performance, wasn't it? That partnership in the midfield of Partey and El Neni, those two, you know, 'cause you look at that midfield of Manchester United, and on paper it's pretty formidable. You know what I mean? You got Fred sitting there, but you've also got Pogba, right there, Bruno Fernandes, McTominay. They can bring on Van der Beek later. You know what I mean? They got a good midfield, right? And basically, Partey and El Neni just nullified that. I mean, they ran the midfield with ease.
Bossed it. I think it was Aubameyang that turned around and said that Partey had control of 3 of the Manchester United 4 in the midfield all game. They were petrified of him. I'm sorry, but that's the first time in a long time I've seen a team come up against some of our players where they're going, whoa, like, you know what you're getting. He's proper. You can't have like 1% of your game off against a player like that. And he bullied the Manchester United midfield, completely and utterly bullied them. I still see that image of when Fred was trying to lay the ball into Pogba and the anticipation from Partey to take that, to drive out, nutmeg, good night. And they're all panicking, running back. Oh my God, absolute dominance. And I said it at the time after the game, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. If we didn't have Thomas Partey in that game, we probably wouldn't have won the game because we would not have dominated in the way that we did without him there. He brings something so different to the table, something that we've been missing since Patrick Vieira left this club.
And, you know, let's give a shout for El Neni as well.
Oh, massively.
That was another player that, you know, I mean, where has this guy come from? You know, probably, a few months ago when, you know, we got to the transfer window, everybody would have been saying, yeah, you know, I mean, well, he's definitely out. He'd actually had a good season over in Turkey in Besiktas. Now, is this Mikel Arteta at his best, right? Because Partey, we bought Partey. He's coming with a big reputation. We know that, you know, all right, sometimes it takes players a time to bed down, but we know there's real top quality there. Even if it's going to take time to come, we know. With El Neni, I don't think any of us saw this. And this is not a one-off game for El Neni. This is since he's come back out of the cold and he's been playing. These performances are the norm for him. Yeah, I mean, and that's down to Arteta, isn't it?
It's got to be, because what you got to remember is that he was not an Arteta signing, first and foremost. I'm not 100% sure, and someone will be able to let us know later on in the comments, but I'm just trying to remember if El Neni was signed at the time when we still had Arteta in the team. I think that might have been the last season. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember.
It was a finger signing.
It was close, because Mikel Arteta played for us a lot closer than what we think. It feels like Mikel Arteta played for us 15 years ago, but it actually wasn't that long ago that he was playing for us. But he's came in, and on the face of it, Mikel Arteta says, right, everyone gets a clean slate. You know, let's see. And I still remember we played MK Dons in pre-season before the season had started. And I remember El Neni was starting in that game. And I remember all the comments and everyone going, oh my God, El Neni. I never thought I'd see the day El Neni's starting again. And then we went to the Community Shield and he played in that. And at the time, a lot of people were thinking, all right, it's because players are coming back and we're short of numbers. So he's just getting some football in his legs. But he's definitely out of the door. He's gone. He's going back to Turkey. There's about 4 or 5 teams over there that are interested in him, etc., etc. And he's just slowly plugged away, kept working. And what you can tell about El Neni is that he's the kind of footballer you want as a manager in terms of the way he applies himself. He looks like the type of guy that will always be at training on time. He will always give 100% in training as though it's a match. He will be so good around the dressing room, smile on his face. He is the model professional. As a manager, that is what you want as a footballer. Somebody that's not going to come in and cause problems. If you're on the bench, if you're out the squad, wherever it may be, El Neni's attitude will never change. It will always be humble, happy, and just glad to be in and amongst everything. So obviously that's rubbed off, and Mikel's seen that and gone, yeah, I like it. And he has got something about him. He's not a bad footballer by any means. A lot of us thought that it wasn't what we need at Arsenal. And yeah, he's still got a lot to prove in terms, because it's one game. And I've seen talks about contracts and stuff like that. And Mikel Arteta, dampened that immediately and said, hold on, let's just wait a minute. Consistency. If Mohamed Elneny plays like that throughout the duration of this season on a consistent basis, then you'd have to offer him a new contract if he's one of our standout players. But right now, let's enjoy what he's doing, and then, the partnership that he's looking like he's forming with Partey.
I know you don't care, right? But Manchester United, I mean, subsequently they've gone on to lose again against that Turkey Bakashir, what they called. And Ole now has gone from. I mean, I remember about just a few days before that game, I was on United stand with Flex and Mark Goldbridge, and they were because obviously they were on an absolute high after that Leipzig win, and they were tearing into me, right? Yeah. And one of the subjects that came up was managers, and I said to them, I said, listen, I said, one of the problems with your team is that you've got good players in that team, and I listed out about 7 players in that team, and I said to them, I go, are these players not top quality? Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, Martial, Rashford, Wan-Bissaka. I go, these are top quality players. Even Maguire, people might have a go at him, but he came in with a big rep. And when he was playing at Leicester, I have to admit, I wanted him at Arsenal. He was that good, right? And they're like, yeah, but he's inconsistent. That player's inconsistent. So I said, yeah, but then that must be the manager. Same way like what we're talking about with El Neni, where we've got a manager who's getting the best out of somebody. I'm like, your manager getting the worst out of these guys. They're not consistent. And I told him, I said, you know what? You're never going to win nothing with him. And they were saying, no. And now it could be, I know it's nothing to do with Arsenal, but come Saturday, Everton away, if he loses that, there's a lot of talk that he could be out the door and Pochettino will take over from him. That would be a nail that we would have put in that coffin.
Well, remember when we was doing the podcast last week with Flex?
Yeah.
And I was sitting there saying to Flex, you had a better manager, you would be challenging at the top end of the table. And he wouldn't have it. He wouldn't listen to me. I've done multiple videos from last season going into this saying Solskjaer will not last the season. I've said it over and over, and people are like, nah. I'm telling you, he is a pathetic manager. He is clueless. Honest to God, he is rubbish. He's got no tactics. He's got no idea. Manchester United fans, the mass percentage want him out now.
Did you see that? Did you see the goal? The goal during the week they conceded against that Turkish team.
I don't see that kind of defending over Hackney Marshes on a Sunday. I'm not even joking. That is the kind of goal you concede in the 95th minute when you're losing the game and you send everybody up for a final corner to try and get an equalizer, and you ultimately leave everyone at the back. This was in the opening 15 minutes. How can you concede a 95th minute goal in the opening 15 minutes? And at what point are you not watching what's unfolding in front of you? The last man back with Demba Ba is Matic. I don't care if the last man you're leaving back is Per Mertesacker. You still don't leave Matic with him. Are you mad? It's like, and I said this, right, and I'm not trying to compare levels of football or anything, but even at my level of football, when there's a corner, I always look and see who's at the back, and I leave a couple back. If there's one striker, whatever it might be, I say my players know who goes up. They know who stays. If somebody that's meant to stay tries the sneaky one, which they always do in football, and try like creeping off, you're like, oi, get back. Like, who on Manchester United's like team, like on the touchline and that, was watching that unfold and going, yeah, that's fine. Like, nobody was watching, like, and allowed it. I find it highly amusing. Now, the one thing I will say though, and I speak for everybody in this country, all over the world, whatever, Everton, we need you to take one for the team right now. Okay? We need you to continue this bad run that you're on at the moment. You had a great start to the season and you're having a bit of a dip. Well, just continue this dip for one more game. All right? You've got to take one for the team. Let Manchester United win. Let Ollie get back at the wheel. We'll then have a nice 2 weeks international break where he's very comfortable and he can keep his job. And then we can go again and make it a very horrible Christmas for Manchester United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and everything else. So, Evertonians, I'm sorry, but you just have to take one for the team. Just take one for the team, because the whole country is enjoying watching this from Manchester United. For so many years, we had to listen to their arrogance and their cockiness. And the maddest thing is that they're arrogant and cocky now, and they're shit. They are absolutely poor. Awful team. And I've said this already. Look at this, yeah? I've got an iPhone 11 Pro, yeah? The big, massive phone, right? I can't even see Man United in the table on that. Get out of here.
The thing is about Ollie as well, he's got that. It's happened to him before, isn't it? Every time he's looking dead, he does always, as troops would say, rise up like the Undertaker.
It is.
And then he'll go on a wicked run and he'll fool everybody that he's great again. And then...
Mate, you only have to look at... If Man United want to win Premier League games, maybe they should play Champions League music before their matches. Because, well, I say that, but then they lost the other day, didn't they? But you look at Manchester United this season, and this is something from the end of last season, and I watched the way that they were dipping up and down. And people were like, no, they're just getting through to get that Champions League spot. It's all right. Next year, it'll be all right, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know whether it's maybe because you're a fan of the club, as, you know, Flex and Goldbridge and everyone are. And we were sometimes like it as Arsenal fans, when people were trying to tell you what was glaringly obvious in your face, you didn't see it. As a fan of the club, we were like, no, it's all right. You don't want to like admit what is really going on in front of you. But from the outside looking in, and you're looking with a fresh pair of eyes, you can see the problems. And Man United, no. And Man United, I'll tell you the problem they have. They have a very similar, and I say similar, problem to Arsenal, is that their manager is somebody that's got a sentimental value attached to it. Not to the level of Arsene Wenger, because he was there over 20 years. You can understand the sentiment and everything. But there's Man United fans that don't want to really hound Solskjaer out because of who he is and the sentimental value behind who he was as a player. He's a club legend and everything else. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a Jose Mourinho, for example, with no attachment, no ties, mate, you imagine what they'd be like now. Do you know what I mean? They're lucky they're not allowed fans in the stadium. But I know we spoke about Man United for the last 10 minutes on an Arsenal podcast, but it's brilliant. I love every minute of it. I love the meltdowns, man. Goldbridge like this. No, we're losing to Arsenal. No. It's the best. I love every minute of it. And you're all more than welcome to cut that little segment, pull it online. I'll share it. I love it. The meltdown is wonderful. Now let's talk about Arsenal.
Going on, right? Also, of course, Europa League game on Thursday. Again, very impressive win in the end, 4-1. Much changed team. Literally, the whole team changed. With players rested up for the game against Villa, and some good little performances in there. Let's first of all start with a player that surely is looking to try and start in the first team. A lot of people are saying he should start. That was Pepe. He had an assist and a goal in the game. I did note that Mikel Arteta said afterwards, still want to see more from him, still want to see more end product and stuff like that from him, which might suggest that he still may not start against Villa. But, do you think he should be starting now?
I do, because what you're going up against, for example, Saka as one of the wide players at the moment is producing in games. He's getting an assist and he's changing games. He's always doing something. He's creative. There's a buzz. So you wouldn't get ahead of somebody that's, on that kind of level at the moment in terms of what they're producing. So, but he's not on that side. So the person he's going up against is Willian. And Willian's not producing. He's not creating chances. His delivery over the last couple of games has been awful. We've been talking about his corners and stuff like that and struggling to beat the first man. And so Pepe deserves his opportunity. And the only way he's going to be able to prove himself on a consistent basis is by consistently being played. And, if he produces in games in the Europa League, you're always going to have that. It's the Europa League. Look who you're playing. We'll go and put him out in the game against Aston Villa. Let's see what he does in that one.
Do you think that Willian gets in ahead of him? Because Willian, I was watching that game last week, a Man United game. I watched it back afterwards, right? And what Willian does bring is a bit of balance. When you're sort of like, when you're playing, he's quite disciplined in his position. He works very hard. He does a lot of pressing very well and stuff like that. A bit, those sort of things that Pepe don't do very well. And I think maybe that's why he's sort of winning that battle at the moment over Pepe. But then Pepe scores a lot of goals, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's what
he's second. He's second in goal contributions behind Aubameyang in the last year or so. I think he's actually our top goal scorer this season now. I think something like that. I think he's up there or something. But the games that are different each and every week. Every game has different formations, tactics, whatever it might be. We're playing at home against Aston Villa, with all due respect to them. They've conceded 7 goals in their last 2 games. They're a team that can be got at. And we need to, continue that bad run of form for Aston Villa. And so this is the kind of game where I think that you don't necessarily need a Willian. Pepe will suffice, and being at home, let him loose, man. Let's go and see what he can do in the Premier League team as well. Let's see what he can do playing in a team with the likes of Thomas Partey and that around him. And whether that effect can rub off on him as well and open up the space more for him to go and have fun, because once he's got space and he can run at you, he's frightening. So
another player who really stood out in that game was Joe Willock. Again, another goal, assists, and generally he was, to me, probably the best player, man of the match in that game. He played really, really well. That's the second time he has played well in the Europa League, and he is a midfielder that gets into the box and scores goals. Something that is lacking at Arsenal at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And he is the one player you look at, and also I see a player there that every time I see him play, he's improving. He's getting better. He's getting better. He's getting better. Is it time to throw him in? I mean, you could play a 4-3-3 at home and have him in that advanced position.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, and this is the most annoying thing about having to do player ratings with yourself straight after a game, is that you get kind of one look at the game, you kind of just take it on face value and watch it, and I watched the highlights back of the game, and I didn't actually realize at the time how well Joe Willock played
See,
in the
because you don't
game.
watch. See, that's what I'm always telling you, man. You don't observe.
Oh,
When
shut up.
I'll be telling you stuff during the game, and you're like, "Oh, shut up!"
Behave yourself, man.
See,
Listen,
now you're realizing for yourself.
Now, listen, you can't say
you're realizing for yourself. You just admitted it,
yourself, man.
You just admitted it.
You shut up. You thought Runarsson was playing up front. Don't tell me nothing. Listen, what I say is that unless he scores a goal, he plays in one of those positions as well in the midfield where they can go unnoticed, if that makes sense. You always look at the flair players and the ones that make you kind of get on the edge of your seat and do things. And that's why Saka stands out, and Pepe and Aubameyang and players like that. And it's when I watched the highlights again, I was like, wow. I was like, this boy is like really starting to develop, and he's becoming a man. He's 21 years old now. And, you know, you only have to look at fan counts from recent years. I think there was Blackpool away where he was being criticised by one of the fans after the game in the FA Cup and saying he's not good enough for Arsenal to go to the level. And I turned around in my fan cam and was doing nothing but praising and saying about how I think that he could really, you know, push on with his Arsenal career. I think that he's got all of the talent there. It's about getting it out of him. And my issue with Joe is those little things that maybe is inexperience, you know, comes out of him. That moment when he had the ball in the box and he could have just simple layoff to Pepe on the edge of the box, and it's probably a goal. But yet he tries doing the hardest thing, which is ignoring Pepe, spinning on the ball and scuffing his shot wide, and it's a chance gone. And those are certain issues about his game that I've raised even in the Premier League last season when we played Bournemouth away right near the end. We're drawing, we need to get a goal to win. He races through, Lacazette's on the side of him, slip him in. It's a simple chance. We win the game. He goes for the shot and misses. Then when we play Chelsea, another tight game. I think it was 1-0 at the time, actually. And he only had to lay it off to Lacazette. 2-0, the game's done. We don't end up losing that game. But he tries the hard thing, spins on the ball, hits the outside of the post. Chelsea go up the other end, score twice, and they end up winning the game. So there's that little part of his game that I really would like to see him improve on. Like I got no issue with a player that's wanting to score. It's nice that we've got someone that wants to score every game, but sometimes there's moments where someone's in a better position, and it's just about understanding that, because I feel that a more experienced top draw player notices those moments, gives it to somebody else and wins us the game. You know, it doesn't matter for me whether you score the winning goal or make the assist to the winning goal, you win the game. Above all, you get 3 points, you win the game. Last night didn't really matter in the context of things because we'd already won the game. It was done and dusted. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's the tiny bit. But overall, his game in itself is really evolving, and I'm really I know someone's going to see him.
I'd like to see him in his scores.
Yeah, but I know someone's going to use this and meme it or crop it or something like that, and don't get these words twisted. But I can see a resemblance to his style of play to Aaron Ramsey, in the way that he moves and the way that he picks up certain positions on the pitch. Now, I'm not saying he's Aaron Ramsey. I'm not saying that he's going to score all these goals like Aaron Ramsey did and stuff, but I see a resemblance. And the one thing that Joe's got that maybe Aaron Ramsey didn't is that kind of, I wouldn't say it's pace, but like Aaron was never the fastest, but yet Joe's got that stride that makes him really quick. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's got that little extra dimension to his game. And yeah, I'd be tempted to play him in a free, you know, in that midfield. I really would, because, you know, Granit Xhaka's not going to go there with Partey and El Neni. It's not going to happen. That's three defensive-minded players. But The only one that you really look at is maybe Danny Ceballos. But then when you look,
I was going to come on to him because, again, that's another player who played very well in that game.
Yeah,
in the Europa game. He'll be knocking on the door. Now you could have Partey and Ceballos, right? Because Ceballos played really well. He's dynamic. He gets forward all the time. He looks after the ball. You know, is there a shout for him instead of maybe El Neni?
No, not for me. Not for me. El Neni stays in the team based on his performance at Old Trafford and based on the 10-minute cameo he had in the Europa League game. Because when he came on then, it was like he just carried on where he left off. Forward passing. It was his incisive pass that set up Joe Willock's goal. The ball into Pepe. And then Pepe slipped in Joe Willock. Goal. Bang. And it was that simple. I've not seen Mohamed El Neni do that in all his time here.
Sideways, you used to call him.
Yeah, Mohamed El Sideways. Listen, at the end of the day, right, if I'm wrong about anybody, I can hold my hands up and say, boy, you know what I mean? But like I was saying earlier on, it's one game. In the grand scheme of things, it's one game. If Mohamed El Neni can perform like that on a consistent basis over the course of this season and become a top player, then I'll sit there and humbly take my L and whatever, because I think 99% of the fan base thought that Mohamed El Neni was not good enough. So you will all have to take an L, you know. But just remember, there are some of us that did think he was a gem once upon a time.
Yeah, right. There was one player, of course, missing from the Europa League game. Now, you know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't know with you anymore, man.
What?
You're not going to talk about Ozil again, surely?
No, not Ozil. Saliba.
But even
Saliba, right? I wanted to talk about this, right? Because what's happening with? I mean, we know that he would have been out of the squad anyway, because he's not been selected for the Europa League squad. But even this week now, there's talk that, again, they're looking to send him on loan again in January. Now, I'm getting really confused with this situation. What, has he been that bad that they think he just... I see that, you know, the guy who he partnered in defence for St Etienne, that Fofana, he's at Leicester and he's playing brilliant. I'd say him and Gabriel, they're the two real finds in defence of this season, yeah? And then we got Saliba. He can't even... What? I mean, I don't get it. I want to see this kid play. I mean, guess we're being impatient because we're not there to see things week in, week out. But man, it's frustrating.
Look, everybody adapts to life in a new country differently. Nobody knows until it happens. And I think that the last year of Saliba's life has been so unsettled because he comes to us, he goes back to St Etienne. He then picks up a little injury. He's out for a while, and then COVID comes in, and then football gets stopped, and then his mum sadly passes away, and then he can't go back to St Etienne for their final that they had, which he helped him, you know, get to, and everything's just kind of up in the air. And as a kid, you can only imagine what he's going through. You know, we might look at his situation and say, yeah, we could deal with that. We might be able to, or whatever. Or, you know, some people will say like, oh, but look how much money he gets and this and that, the other. And that's just a stupid comment when I've seen people say that, because no amount of money can make up for your mum passing away and not being around your family and, you know, people that can help you through that tough time in your life and stuff, and the language and other, you know, contributing factors. It's just been a really difficult time. And I think Mikel Arteta has made it very clear now that they wanted him to have that transitional period. They wanted him to play football consistently. He's not going to get that at the moment with us. Yes, it's annoying he can't play in the Europa League now, but when the decision was made, we had about 8 defenders available. We've now got about 3 or 4. So it's sod's law that it happens, because he would be able to play now. And that might have been what Saliba needed. A couple of performances in the Europa League show what it's about. And that's what's annoying, because it might have been enough to show Mikel, like, hey, you know what? He's all right, actually. I'm going to bring him in amongst the Premier League teams, FA Cup coming in January and everything else. But I think at the moment, because he can't play in the Europa League, he's not in contention for the Premier League because you're just not going to throw him in unless something unbelievably bad happened. Like, you know, Luiz, Mustafi, Gabriel, everyone got injured. God forbid, touch wood. So it's kind of like, yeah, let's send him out on loan in January, get him playing for the next 5 months or so, get him consistently involved. And then we bring him back and start again next season. So I can see that. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. And we would all wish that he was included in the Europa League squad because now we could play him. We could play him. But I think that we just need to trust the manager, trust the process of what they're doing with Saliba. They're privy to seeing him every single day in training. They will know what he's like, you know, away from the public eye and the family situation and all this kind of stuff. And they watch him in under 23 matches as well, because he has been playing a few of those. So, yeah, if they're saying that he's not ready at the moment and they want him to have this transitional period, then who are we to argue at the end of the day? They see him every day. We don't.
Okay. Now, let's look ahead to the weekend, to the goalkeeper derby.
Oh, mate.
Leno versus Martinez.
Mate, please, man. You know what? I've just had a message as well. I'm not going to be there for the watch along on Sunday. I've got a hair appointment.
Is that right? In the lockdown, yeah?
Lockdown. It's
the Leno versus Martinez, the goalkeeper derby, right?
Yeah.
Arsenal versus Aston Villa, right? You know there's going to be a lot of scrutiny. I know, and the reason we're joking about this, for anyone who don't know, DT famously backs Leno to the absolute hilt. He's like
my goalkeeper, man.
He's like
my goalkeeper.
You're like I don't know who's, you know, like with Trump, right? He's got he'll have like his faithful like Mike Pence. That's what you're like when it comes to Leno.
My goalkeeper.
He backs Leno to the hilt. And listen, he should. Why not? Leno's a brilliant goalkeeper. I wanted to do something, yeah. Because Emi Martinez, obviously, there was a lot of people when Emi Martinez left. When he left, a lot of people saying, "Oh, why?" Emi Martinez was in control of the shirt. He was playing brilliantly. We should, you know, people wanted us to keep both. Martinez wanted to be the number one. There were some people arguing that Martinez should be the number one. You, of course, a staunch Leno guy, was saying, no, Leno should be the number one. They're both great goalkeepers. I wanted to sort of score them out of 10. Right? And I want you to be honest in these things.
We've done this already.
No, we haven't done this already.
Yeah, we have. We've done it before on a podcast before.
Not in this detail, right? So I'm gonna have, we're picking out 4 attributes, and I want you to score them out of 10. And I want you to be fair with it as well. Whichever way it ends up is how it ends up, right? But I want you to be honest with it and don't just do your normal ultra biased thing, right? So if we start with shot stopping, yeah, I'm going to write it down here. So shot stopping, what would you give Leno out of 10 for shot stopping?
10.
Now, come on, be real now.
I'm being real. If there's one thing about Bernd Leno's game that is exceptional, it's his shot stopping. He is phenomenal at shot stopping. His reactions, the way that he makes saves, the agility. You remember the save at Spurs and the reactions. How many times has he done this? Do you remember most recently against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, how he single-handedly got us to the penalties to actually win that game? He is an exceptional shot stopper.
Also remember the other night.
This is you asking me a question to give you my I want to 10. 10.
Look at the other night. The other night,
Robbie,
we were arguing on the stream, and I still hold on, and I still hold that, and I look back at it, and even more now, I'm sure of it. I felt he should have done better with that goal against.
That is your opinion. That is your opinion.
Did you watch it back?
Yes, I have. Nothing wrong with it. Now you have asked me for my ratings. I am giving you my ratings.
10.
You must perfect. He's brilliant shot stopper. Exceptional shot stopper.
All right, 10. I think you're just trying to, Emi Martinez, what would you give him for shot stopping?
8. Because he does spill a couple. And he has done that this season. He spilled one for Villa. And he got very lucky against Fulham that it was given out offside for VAR. So nobody talks about it.
Leno spilt as well.
No, he hasn't spilled.
What's the goal?
He hasn't spilled.
What was the game he spilt what game was that again? Where he should have he sort of pushed it back here. I mean, it wasn't an easy. Man City.
There was nothing wrong with that save. There was nothing wrong with that at all, man. Over absolute rubbish. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh my God, man! I told you, man. Mike Pence.
I told you.
Right, so, playing the ball out from the back.
Leno first.
Yeah,
I'll give him an 8. I think that's one tiny part of his game that he needs to just work on, but it has got a hell of a lot better, and he is starting to really understand.
Do you remember the game against Dundalk?
Yeah, it happened. I remember a game.
3 occasions.
Excuse me. I remember a game involving Emi Martinez before the end of last season where he went and made a mistake in one of his kicks, and we were lucky he wasn't punished. So it happens. Goalkeepers will do it.
3 in one game. 8.
I've seen Alisson do it. I've seen Alisson do it against us. It happened.
Are you sure 8?
Yes, 8. Because 90% of the time it's decent.
Martinez. Never once saw him flop with that when he was playing for Arsenal. So based off of how you was judging the shot stopping for Martinez, he should be picking up a 9 or 10, shouldn't he?
I'll give him a 9. I think that Martinez has got good distribution. But it's all about longevity as well. We need to see that over the course of the season. I haven't really watched a lot of Aston Villa games to see how he's actually handling his kicking and distribution with them. I've only seen the goals that he's been letting in.
Command in the box.
Leno, 8. I think that's an area of his game that he needs to work on, but I think that it's improved, and I think that he's decent enough at it. And I think even if you look at the Manchester United game, whenever a ball was put into the box and he needed to be commanding as the goalkeeper, I felt he'd done really, really well in that game. And he's showing that side of his game he can do. And it's about consistency.
Martinez.
9. I think that his height helps him a hell of a lot. And he's
kicking, like long range kicking to find players and stuff like that.
Ain't that distribution?
Yeah, kicking stroke distribution.
But we've already done distribution.
No, we said playing out from the back. I'm talking about kicking and distribution. Like you do a long range kick to find a player up the field, or a long range throw, or stuff like that.
I don't think there's a lot between them, to be honest. I'll go 8 each on that one. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. You see, that's what I'm saying, man. Blindly, you think that come on.
I'm telling you my opinion. 8,
kicking and distribution long. That's even. You'll be honest.
Yep.
Lift your head up so we can see your face. Look into the camera. No, I'm not having it, man. So you're giving them both 8?
Yep.
Right. So with your utter biasness on that last one. Utter biasness. Let's just run through it quickly again. So shot stopping, you gave Leno a 10 and Martinez at 8, which I thought 10, he's a great shot stopper, not 10. 10 is flawless. Playing out from the back, You gave Leno 8, Martinez 9. Command in the box, you gave Leno an 8, Martinez a 9. And then on the decisive one now, which you knew Martinez is better on, which is kicking and distribution, you gave them both an 8. Which means Leno scores 34 and Martinez scores 34. It's a dead heat. They're both as good as each other.
Well, that's a shame, isn't it? We'll find out who's better on Sunday then, won't we?
We will.
My goalkeeper. And I'll say this on record. I'll say this on record right now. I hope Emi Martinez makes an absolute howler. I hope he fumbles it, falls into the net, gets caught up in the netting, looks an absolute clown. I don't care. I want Arsenal to win. I hope Emi Martinez has an absolute shocker of an afternoon. I hope that he's crying in bits, you name it. And then we can go, thank you for everything you did over 10 games, Emi. Yeah.
I agree with you on all that. Looking ahead to the game, Villa, they're coming in a poor run of form. They were top of the league a couple of weeks ago. They beat Liverpool, of course. Remember, we got to remember that. Well, we can't take them lightly. Put 7 past Liverpool. Remember that day. But since then, they've been really humble. They're humbled by Leeds. You know, humbled by, was it Leicester humbled them as well? You know, they've conceded a lot of goals in the last few
games.
Southampton as well. Yeah, so, you know, they're really coming in now on a poor run of form.
Yeah.
This is a chance for Arsenal, who are in a lot of confidence, 2 wins on the bounce, to go into that international break with a win. But it's not going to be easy. I mean, they got some good players.
Yeah.
Grealish, we all know. Yeah. Top quality.
He's the one that worries me. He's the one that worries me, him. He's the kind of player that we would love at Arsenal right now. Yeah. Imagine him ahead of Thomas Partey. My God, he'd have a field day. But yeah, he's going to be the standout player that you've really got to watch. But they have other players that you need to be careful of as well.
Ollie Watkins, a striker.
Ollie Watkins is one player that you need to keep an eye on. He's electric, rapid. And I remember watching him at Brentford and I was like, yeah, he's decent, man. And they converted him from a winger to a striker. And yeah, he's not done too bad in his start to life in the Premier League. It's always difficult for strikers coming up that level. Barkley as well. He looks like he's got a bit of his old Everton ways in him, shall we say, since he's left Chelsea. He looks like he's enjoying himself again. So he's dangerous and can be, you know, a match winner on any given moment. And like I said, we need to just compound their misery. We need to remember they've been playing. They've conceded 7 goals in the last 2 games.
Yeah, but let's not forget the last time they came to the Emirates, they actually beat us. That was only a couple of months ago. Remember that game where we switched off from that corner? And who was it? Was it Tyrone Mings?
Oh, but that was at their ground, wasn't it?
I thought that was at the Emirates, wasn't it? It was at the Emirates.
We beat them 3-2 at the Emirates, didn't we? You remember Maitland-Niles got sent off.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was at their ground. But
and Aubameyang scored that winning goal, the free kick, bent in the bottom corner.
Yeah, but they beat us the last time we played. I mean, that was one of the big. I mean, they was on a bit of good form towards the end of the season and managed to stay up. And one of the big victories in them staying up was beating us. Yeah. We're going to have to be on it. They've got a better team than they had on that day as well. So we're going to have to be on it. What team would you like to see play against them? Let's run through your starting 11.
Oh, starting 11. So Leno obviously involved.
First of all, what formation would you go?
4-3-3.
Okay,
but it can revert into a 4-2-3-1. It can 4-3-3. It's in and out. Formations are never rigid anymore. They don't just stay that way. They always go in and out of possession. So I will have the same back 4 that we had at Old Trafford. So
Rob Holding back in.
Yeah, Rob Holding. Gabriel, and Bellerin on the right, and Tierney on the left. The three, I'd have Partey, El Neni, and I'd give Joe Willock a chance in the three. And then the attacking three, I would have Saka on the left, Ober in the middle, and Pepe on the right.
For once, we agree. I actually agree with that team. I like that team.
There you go.
I also feel.
In the podcast now. It's never going to happen again.
I also feel I like that team because I also feel I'd like to see Willock in there. I think Willock will put the work rate in, and you've got those El Neni and that will put the work rate in. I think Willock's a guy that could get us a goal. I mean, he's a midfield player that will turn up in the box. You know what I mean? Because, you know, we've lacked enough people in the box at times in certain games. He'll get in the box, and I agree with that team. And I agree with what you're saying there. We've put in Aubameyang down the middle as well. Put Aubameyang down the middle, Saka on one side, Pepe on the other side, and really go for it.
Yeah.
I like that team.
I think that's a good team. I think it's very energetic. There's pace, there's power, directness. I feel that that's got everything that we need to see in a home performance from Arsenal, and none of this timid, coming out slow type. I want us to actually attack Aston Villa from minute one. I want us to go for their throat early and, you know, capitalize on their vulnerability and the fact that they have conceded so many goals. You know, they've conceded so many goals. Yeah. So go for it. Why not? We're the home team, man. We're the home team. Let's go out there. Let's be expansive. Let's go and, you know, try and actually grab games by the scruff of the neck early. Let's go and get this done by half time where we can sit back and go, yeah, job done. Let's go. Go into the international break and everyone's happy. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want none of this sitting back, rigid, timid type thing. Time to let the shackles off a little bit in certain games. I understand the Manchester United game. There's certain limitations and certain ways that you've got to play, and we understand that, and that's fine. That's no problem. We'll take a 1-0 away from home against any of the top 6 sides throughout the rest of our lives as Arsenal fans until the day we die. But yeah, for these kind of games, let the handbrake off a little bit.
I agree with you. And I certainly like that team. Would like everybody else to let us know what their team will be. Of course, we then go into an international break. International break at the time of a lockdown. Wow, so exciting!
Right, they found it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be chilling for 2 weeks. But no, listen, DT, thanks as always. Been really entertaining, really good, really funny today. Don't forget, you can download this podcast on all of the normal formats. Also, don't forget Profit Accumulator, our sponsors today. The link is in the description to get involved with them. Thank you to Profit Accumulator. And you have a way and means to earn yourself a couple of extra pounds in this lockdown. Of course, you've got to be over 25 to get involved with that. DT, thanks very much. I will see you on Sunday. At the watch along, we are doing our watch along still. That is one of the few things that we are still doing in our office, or should I say our studio? So office and studio. We've got special COVID arrangements in place. We are allowed to do it for a couple of people that were like, "What's going on? How are you not doing it?" We are allowed to. We've checked it. We're allowed to. We're actually how we're doing our content at the moment is stuff that we can do from home. Like, say, this podcast, we're doing it from home. There's other bits of content that we can't do from home. Those are the ones where we go in, and you are allowed to go into work unless you can't, right? So no rules being broken here, and we're fully respectful of the whole lockdown rules. And let's hope that we can get out of this lockdown when it ends in December and start getting back to a semblance of normality going down towards Christmas. DT, thanks once again, mate, and enjoy the lockdown.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
All right, and thanks to everybody for watching the show, and we'll be back next week. This video is supported by Profit Accumulator. Profit Accumulator helps you to earn extra money by doing something called match betting. Match betting isn't gambling, and when you do it properly, and I mean properly, you can't lose. Now, you always see these promotions by bookmakers like Ladbrokes, William Hills, Corals, offering a £50 bonus to customers.
So you sign up and you might place a £50 bet on a coin toss landing on heads and a £50 bet on the same coin toss landing on tails. Now, whichever way it lands, it don't matter because you won't win or lose any money because you've covered all of the outcomes. However, you get the £50 bonus, so you're still £50 up. Now, lots of people try to do match betting on their own, but it's very time consuming and not always easy if you don't know what you're doing. That's where Profit Accumulator come in. Even if you don't know anything about sports, they walk you through everything step by step, showing you how to accumulate money into your bank account. So get involved right now. Click the link in the description and sign up to Profit Accumulator right now.